Hello, just down at the speed shop. Just wanted to do a quick video on the CT125 now that I've done a few miles on the bikes to run them in. I'll just show you this red one here. So that's a CT125 from 7 Seas Motors in Dewsbury, and that's one of the CT110s that I brought back from Australia after the Brisbane to Perth trip through the outback a few years ago. So it's nice to see old versus new, or new versus old. That's a 10-year-old bike with 28,000 kilometres on. This is obviously a new bike with 100 kilometres on. Difference isn't that great in a lot of ways. 20cc, so 125cc, that's a 105cc, about 7 brake horsepower, about 8.5 brake horsepower. So not a great deal in it. How they ride on the road, it is quite different, really. This is a far more refined bike, I'm finding. Really nice to ride on the A and B roads, really. It really flows well on tarmac. It's certainly a more compliant bike, better suspension, better brakes, I'd say better, more sure-footed handling. So it's definitely impressing me in that regard. It's just nice to have a modern bike, really. Fuel injection, electric start, ABS, disc brakes, just a nice, easy riding machine. I'm getting used to the gearbox on it, so I'm using basically that to go up, so down to go up, and down on the hill to go down. Because it's reverse, you see neutral's at the top, then it's down into first, down into second, down into third, down into fourth, and if you're stationary, back down into neutral, and then back around. So I use that to go down into first, down into second, and then obviously that to come back up through the gearbox, which it takes a little bit of getting used to. But now I've separated it out as a downshift and as an upshift. It kind of makes sense now. So yeah, all in all, I'm really enjoying the bike. It's got a sloppy old chain like most cheap Hondas have, or budget Hondas have. That will stretch out in about 1,000 miles, judging by the Facebook group. But all in all, yeah, it's nice. It rides well, and I'm enjoying riding it. Not really much faster than the 110s. I've ridden. I took a group out who were on the old bikes, and I was leading on one of the 125s. And performance-wise, not a lot in it, really. A little bit more torque on the hills, but not a great deal of difference in overall speed. But I think the 125 achieves the speed a little bit easier and a bit more refined than the 110, which is what you'd expect. What you do notice, it's a little bit stodgier on the throttle, not as responsive, not as crisp. I think the fuel injection's tweaked for it to be quite a soft input off the throttle, whereas the old car version is a little bit more connected to the back wheel. You feel a bit more alert and a bit more engaged with the throttle input on the 110. And so actually off the line, the 110 feels a bit quicker, brisker and more willing to rev than the 125. But I think on the open road, when you're stretching both out, obviously the 125 will just get away probably, 5 miles an hour, quicker top speed. So that'll probably do 50, whereas this is more happy at 45, give or take thereabouts. What I have found though, actually, the 125 isn't probably quite as good on the trails as the 110. Maybe that's because it's shiny and new, and therefore you're a little bit reserved with riding it. You're a bit more precious about dropping it and damaging it, whereas on the old 110s they've already had the shine taken off them, so you can be a bit more careless with it, I guess, or a bit more aggressive, or a bit more confident. And I think it's confidence that makes you it's confidence that helps you ride off-road more than anything. So maybe once these have been used a bit more, used and abused, then it'll become that little bit better off-road. But having just weighed this, it's 17 kilos heavier than this. So this is 100 kilos direct, and that's 117. So that's bound to impact how competent it is off-road. If we had a 20% of our weight to us, we'd feel more stodgy. So I think the weight is an issue on this, or you certainly notice the extra weight of it. Also the extra width of it, you do notice as well. It's quite a wide beast between the seat, so as that protrudes 2 inches there, wider than the seat, and also on this side probably an inch, whereas on the old one everything's tucked within the seat width, and a lot narrower. And I think that helps your confidence when you're new to off-road riding. You're on some gnarly stuff as well. Also, what I like about the old one, the exhaust is flush with the rear rack, so it protects it from any damage, whereas on the new one sticks out a couple of inches. So that's going to be, I think, a bit more prone. It's about 70 quid for one of them, and about 160 for the actual exhaust. So yeah, the pros and cons. I think the new one, definitely more modern bike, based upon a more road bias chassis, and therefore it's never going to be as good or as chuckable off-road as the old one. But it's better on road, so it depends, what you want, really. For me and what I'm using it for, it is probably a better thing that it's easier to start, easier to stop, more refined at speed, and also it's newer and easier for me to maintain. Whereas the old ones, you know, you're always getting drums that are just seizing up and cables that are stretching and needing nipping up and carburetors that need cleaning out and things like that. So for me, new one is nice, but the old one, it's still got a really nice charm to it. Love the mechanical nature and just a solid feel to it. It feels like, you know, well, you could deliver mails to the end of days and it'd still keep on going. Whether this new one is going to be as good long term, who knows, really. Who knows? It's really so hard to say whether it's going to be reliable over the same duration as a 110. If I was going to go back to Australia tomorrow, would I take the 110 or the 125? I think I'd take the 125 just because it's, as I say, a bit better for long distance riding, a bit comfier, just probably easier to live with. Who knows how it would do get into Australia? Would it get to Australia with the little issue I had bringing one of the old ones from Australia? Who knows, really. As for price, a lot of people say, you know, £4,500 for a 125, it's too much. I kind of agree, but it's where we're at in the market. Everything's going up in price. If you want something, you've got to pay for it. The fact that Honda aren't bringing it into the UK means that it's a bit of a cartel for anybody who is. But in fairness to 7Cs, I think 4.5 for all the legwork they're doing on it isn't bad at all, really. Isn't bad at all. People are going to say, well, it's a lot of money compared to, let's have a look at this one, Himalayan, which are the same price, 4.5. I guess it is. You get a lot more bike there. You can do more with that bike than you can do with a 125, but mass-produced bike in India brought over in the thousands versus a 125 that's, you know, low-volume import. It's not really comparing apples with apples, really. So there we go. New 125, CT125 on the fleet. I've got one more to run in, and I've got customers coming down in the next few weeks to ride them. So take them out for the day and explore North Devon, really. So, yeah, really tough with the bikes. They've grown on me. I've got to say, when I first rode it, I wasn't blown away by it in any way. But I took a mate out, Nigel, the other day to run a few in, and we had a right blast just going up and down the coast and in and around. And the fuel consumption was really good, and we both enjoyed it. So, yeah, all in all, it is a nice, exciting, enjoyable little motorbike, which goes to show, actually, that for a lot of our motorcycling needs, a 125 fulfills it. A and B roads, perfectly adequate, perfectly fine. And again, a real shame that Honda aren't bringing it in, because I think this would really tap into a new market. Whether they will ultimately go electric and whether that's their intention to try and get new riders in, non-motorcyclists to ride an electric motorcycle, who knows? But for now, yeah, big shame Honda aren't bringing this in, because I think it would suit a lot of people. So there we go. That's it. 2 generations of CTs, 125 and 110. I like riding them both. Cheers.